Hey, what's up guys, Jakey here. Today we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the Wooting 80HE. It is finally here. Shout out to Wooting for sending this out for review, but as always, that does not affect my opinion of it. If you guys haven't watched the original review that I made on my Wooting 60HE right here, and also the videos that I made modding this keyboard, let me just tell you that this is probably by far my favorite keyboard that I've ever used, the Wooting 60HE. In terms of performance, it is just absolutely incredible, and the fact that I modded it as well to make it sound really nice and feel premium as well. This keyboard just has not left my desk ever since it came out. And now we have the Wooting 80HE for those of you who wanted a larger form factor. So this keyboard's MSRP is around $200 USD. 295 Canadian. You can either choose between the full 80HE on their website or the Wooting 80HE module, which does not come with a case, switches, or keycaps. If you choose the 80HE, you can also go for their zinc alloy case. So with the 80HE, if you choose the regular plastic case, you can either go with the black or ghost, which is sort of like this see-through material. And if you go with their zinc alloy case, which is considerably more expensive, you can either choose between black or white. So the 80HE currently is on pre-order, so you will have to check on their website to see how long it takes for them to ship to your country. But let's actually talk about the main differences of the 80HE compared to the 60HE. So obviously the main thing is going to be the form factor. You are getting those additional arrow keys as well as some extra keys such as your delete, page up, page down, and stuff like that. So that's the main thing that's different. The second biggest thing is going to be the 8000 Hertz polling rate. So 8000 Hertz polling rate on paper is going to be faster than your traditional 1000 Hertz polling rate keyboards, but you will never hear me say that 8000 Hertz is significant, especially on a keyboard, because it's simply not. You're really not going to notice that latency difference between 8000 Hertz polling and 1000 Hertz polling, especially if we're talking about a keyboard. But on paper, it is nice to see that this keyboard supports 8000 Hertz polling rate so that you truly know that you are getting the most responsive and snappy experience. So you can see here, you're getting a full function row, arrow keys, you get your little LED strip, which is also new. And Wooting made sure to emphasize that this LED strip is not just for looks, but also for functionality. So this will actually tell you a lot about the status of your keyboard, depending on what you have it set to. Another difference is the stock Lecker switches that are shipping out with the Wooting 80HE are improved over the original Leckers that came with the 60HE. They should sound better and have less wobble as well compared to the original Leckers. So yeah, this is what the keyboard looks like right here. Plastic case. On the bottom here, you have 4 huge rubber feet, as you can see. No adjustable kickstands, and your USB-C port is going to be on the top left of the keyboard. And on the front here, you also have Wooting printed out on the case. Keycap wise, these are Wooting's shine through PBT keycaps. They pretty much feel identical to the keycaps that were on the 60HE. In the box, you also get a little disclaimer card telling you how to install your switches correctly. You also get a braided USB-C cable. One end is USB-C, and the other end actually has an adapter on it, so you can either choose to go straight into a USB-C or have your USB-A adapter on it as well. That's a new addition on the 80HE and very cool to see. But yeah, really nice quality cable, really no complaints about it whatsoever. So in the box as well, you also get risers. And so these will elevate your keyboard by, looks like 10 degrees. So since there's no kick up feet on the bottom of the board, you can use these to get a 10-degree typing angle if you want. And there's also 6-degree risers as well in here, so you can use these if you want a less steep typing angle. So 2 different sets of risers. One's 10 degrees and the other is 6 degrees. You also have a bag of additional keycaps, as well as a keycap puller and extra switches as well. It looks like you actually have different types of switches in there. And then you also get some extra screws as well. If you are modding the keyboard, disassembling it and whatnot, you get some extra screws. So as of right now, there are no third-party 80% layout cases that are compatible with the Wooting, but I'm sure in the future, if you wait long enough, there will be manufacturers that come out with aluminum cases that are compatible with the 80HE. Currently, if you want an aluminum case, you do have to buy it directly from Wooting. And as always, you get a little thank you card in here as well, which we also got with the 60HE. There is the card right there. Very nice. Okay, so here's the keyboard on the desk. Let's get this plugged in. We can do a sound test as well as go over the software and performance of the board. So obviously for those of you who are new to Wooting, this is a Hall effect keyboard, meaning that it uses magnetic switches, and that means you get an analog input from your keyboard, so you can customize the actuation point of each switch independently. And you can also use a feature called rapid trigger, which means as soon as you lift off a key, it will register that key as being deactivated, unlike your traditional mechanical keyboards where you have to wait for a contact leaf to go past the actuation point. So yeah, if you are new to Hall effect keyboards, they are taking over the keyboard market recently, especially for those competitive gamers, because Hall effect technology is the fastest currently that is implemented in a keyboard. So here it is all plugged in. This is the default RGB effects, and you can see there the LED strip turns on. Let's do a quick sound test of the ADHE so that we can get an idea of how it sounds with those new and improved Lecker switches. And that is how the ADHE sounds. It has a very soft sound signature. I think it sounds very nice. The switches are factory lubed, and there's really no need to take this keyboard apart and hand lube it, but you could do that if you wanted to, if you don't like the factory lubing. Okay, now let's move on to the software, and I've always liked the way Wooting does their software because it is all web-based. So you don't have to actually download anything onto your computer. You just go ahead and open your web browser here and type in wootility.io, and then I'm going to connect a device here and just press allow the browser, and it should just detect my ADHE. Yeah, let's go to Wootility V5 because apparently it's recommended for the ADHE, and we can just initialize a device here and connect our ADHE to our computer. So you can see here it found my keyboard, and now we're just checking for a firmware update, and we're just going to allow the browser to update the keyboard. So I really like the way Wooting does its software implementation. It's very straightforward and very intuitive to use. You can see here while the update's going, we have the progress bar on the LED. And there we go. It is fully initiated, and now we can customize the device. And so you can see here, we can customize all the different profiles. We can add a profile if we wanted to, or we can just customize the default profile as well. And you can share your profile codes as well so that anyone else on a Wooting keyboard can copy your profile, which is another really cool thing that I love about Wooting. And here it is. We can pretty much customize the entire keyboard now. So I'm just going to select all the keys and change the settings to match my 60HE. So for actuation point, I'm just going to do 1mm. One more thing that I noticed that they added to Wootility V5 is this visual indicator of how far you're actually pressing the key down. So that's actually very cool. That's actually one thing that I've wanted them to add since I've tried out a bunch of different Chinese OEM HE keyboards. Their software actually has this a lot of the time. And so it's really nice seeing Wooting add this. You can also type in a number now. Before you had to use the slider, but now you can actually type in like a custom number. So that's very nice as well. Just a little quality of life feature there. I'm going to turn on rapid trigger here, and I'm going to set it to the lowest, which is 0.15. And then tachyon mode, I'm also going to turn this on as well. So whenever you do something to the keyboard, just hit save to keyboard, and that will save it onto the onboard memory. And you can see here, when we turn on tachyon mode, that's pretty much turning on the 8000 Hertz polling rate because the response time goes down to 0.125 when we do turn on tachyon mode. Looks like we can actually add profiles here. There's a completely separate tab now for managing your profiles, which is nice. Down here, we can change the RGB effects. And when you do have tachyon mode enabled, the RGB effects are disabled. So you can only choose like very basic static effects. And then you also have your light indicator. So this is your LED bar, and you can also do effects here, it looks like. So you can either have it do effects, or you can do like general indicators. So I can do like a caps lock indicator if I wanted to. And you can also choose like which part of the LED bar you want showcasing that. For example, if I wanted my whole bar to be white if my caps lock is on, then I can do that. So you can see here, I just saved it to my keyboard, and now when I toggle on caps lock, if my caps lock is enabled, the LED bar will show that. So that's actually super, super cool. The next tab here is your remap. So you can remap every key on the keyboard to do different functions. And then you have your advanced keys as well, which you can do mod tap on, dynamic keystroke, and to enable SOCD as well. And then the final tab here is for gamepad mapping, which I'm not going to touch. But yeah, very intuitive software. Again, that's one of the strong points of Wooting, is definitely their software support and integration. So now let's go over the performance of the board. Let's start with a notepad test. And just testing the keyboard in Notepad, feathering the D key here. Looks like the 1mm actuation is working as intended. And if I slightly let go of the D key, my inputs immediately stop registering. So it looks like the rapid trigger is working as intended as well. And now finally, let's hop into the Valorant range and try it out in game. All right, guys, I have Valorant booted up in the range now, and just trying it out in the range, everything seems to work as intended. If I feather one of my keys like the A and D key, it inputs the movement, and then as soon as I let go of a key, it just immediately stops my character from moving in game. And performance wise, it feels very, very similar, if not identical, to my 60 HE. Again, 8000 Hz polling rate, I will never say that it makes a difference in game. You really just can't tell the difference between a 1000 Hz keyboard like the 60 HE going to an 8000 Hz keyboard like the 80 HE. You're really not going to be able to tell a difference between those two polling rates. But again, if you do want the fastest experience on paper, then 8000 Hz polling rate will provide that. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. The Wooting 80 HE is a fantastic keyboard, just like the 60 HE. If you guys are looking for a bigger form factor and you want the arrow keys and the function row as well, then the 80 HE is definitely a no-brainer. If you still prefer that 60% layout, then go for the 60 HE. I wouldn't be too worried about the differences between 1000 and 8000 Hz polling rate, but the improved Leica switches do make a difference in terms of the sound profile. If I remember correctly, the stock sound of the 60 HE was still pretty good, but definitely not as good as the 80 HE. So really depends on which form factor you want. That's going to be the biggest factor in deciding which keyboard you pick up. So 200 USD is a little bit expensive, but if you want to be at the forefront of Hall effect keyboards, I think Wooting is the way to go. I personally would not mind paying $200 for a Wooting keyboard, just because Wooting were the first to do it, and I feel like they are still at the forefront of HE technology, especially when it comes to software implementation. And I also feel like everyone over there at Wooting, like their team, are just generally really good people. So yeah, really solid keyboard. Huge shout out to Wooting for sending this out for review. I hope this video helps you guys out, and if it did, make sure you leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.